Welcome to the Natural Health Podcast, where we bring awareness of sustainable health in a business hustle space. Natural Health Podcast is perfect for the high-performing, business-minded individuals who want to work with their biochemistry to achieve optimal health. It's Wednesday, which means it's time for this week's What Would I Do segment. In today's episode of the Natural Health Podcast, we discuss this week's question. All questions are kept confidential. I read them and answer them as if it was me. Hence why it is called What Would I Do? The information provided is not to be taken as advice and is solely for information purposes only. I'm not here to cure, treat, or provide medical advice. I'm here to educate and inform you so you're able to take steps towards optimal health. Please discuss any medical issues or lifestyle changes with your healthcare professional. Let's get into today's question. Today's question goes like this. What causes sensitive sensations? Recently happened on my calf and bottom of my foot and at random spots. The surface of the skin feels very sensitive to touch. It is almost like a tingling feeling, but it's a bit hard to describe. Okay, wonderful. Well, let's first look into the topic. I'm not 100% sure what this may be, but I can only assume that it is paresthesia, which is essentially a medical term for numbness and or tingling, which we'll go with today. And this is where it's key to work with a healthcare professional to get an understanding of what is actually happening, right? And get a thorough examination. Essentially, this can affect any part of the body. It commonly affects hands, arms, legs, and feet, right? It can either be chronic or temporary and include such things as numbness, weakness, tingling, burning, or cold. It's totally different for every single individual, right? It often occurs when a pressure is placed on a nerve for a brief period of poor circulation. It can happen when we fall asleep on our arm and then we wake up and we're like, oh my gosh, or if we cross our legs for too long, right? But chronic paresthesia may be a sign of nerve damage. There's two different types of nerve damage. One is radiculopathy and neuropathy. Right. The first one is a condition. So the radiculopathy is a condition in which the nerve roots become compressed, irritated, or inflamed, right? And this can occur if you have a herniated disc that places a lot of pressure on your nerve, a narrowing of the canal that transmits the nerve from your spinal cord to your extremities, any mass that compresses the nerve that exists, right? So, and the other one, which is neuropathy, occurs due to chronic nerve damage, and this is the most common cause of it, right? And the most common cause of this part is hypoglycemia and high blood sugar. Looks like diabetes, right? But we'll go into that. So you may have this due to trauma, repetitive movements, autoimmune disease such as rheumatoid arthritis, a neurological disease such as MS, kidney, liver diseases, stroke, tumor of the brain, cognitive tissue disorders, hypothyroidism, deficiencies in either B1, B6, B12, E, or B3, getting too much vitamin D, infections such as Lyme disease, shingles, or HIV. Certain medications do this also, and or exposure to toxic substances, chemicals, heavy metals. The interesting thing about this is that there's a connection, right? There's a connection between diabetes. So diabetes is the most common cause of persistent tingling in the feet, right? Diabetic neuropathy is a result of nerve damage caused by high blood pressure. B12, so a low B12 can cause fatigue, shortness of breath, tingling, coldness, and headaches. That can cause this also. Pregnancy can cause this also due to the uterus growth, right? Autoimmune diseases such as lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, celiac disease, and so forth can also cause this. Infections such as Lyme disease, HIV, AIDS can cause this. Now we kind of get an understanding of what it is, and I can't pronounce the medical term of it, but we'll just call it numbness and tingling. The medical term of paresthesia. I'll put it all in the show notes so you can have a look of it. But essentially numbness or tingling, what would I do, right? So now we understand a bit of a connection of it. The questions that I would ask is, when did this start, right? What occurred during the time that this started? Did I have an injury? Did I eat too much sugary foods? Did I not get enough of the nutrients? What happened around the time that this started? What makes it better? What makes it worse? Is it worse in the morning? Is it worse at night? Is it worse after exercise? Is it worse when I'm on holidays? Is it worse in summer? Is it worse in winter? What makes it worse? This is where we need to keep a diary and measure of what makes it worse, right? Question I would ask myself is, have I recently been exposed to any toxins? Have I started a new job? Did I move houses? What toxins have I recently been exposed to that may impact this, right? Am I on any new supplements or medication which may be impacting this? Do I have a new injury which may have caused this? Am I doing any repetitive tasks which may have caused this, right? Do I currently have the chickenpox or recently have had the chickenpox? Have I got any type of infections that we spoke about? Have I tried any new foods recently? Have I removed any foods recently from my diet, such as am I a vegan or a vegetarian? Have I got a bite anywhere on my body? Have I recently gotten my B12 tested? What is the level of my B12 currently, right? Do I currently have MS, seizures, hardening of the arteries, underactive thyroid, or Raynaud's syndrome phenomenon? Do I have any of them? Am I pregnant? Do I have any infections? Do I have any pinched nerves? Oh my gosh, do I have an infection? Am I pregnant? Am I low B12? Do I have diabetes, autoimmune disease infections? So many questions to ask myself in regards to this. But the key one is, when did it start and what changed around it and what makes it worse, right? Get a bit of an understanding, a bit of a diary of what is happening inside of my body, okay? What would I do? Well, first of all, I have had this in the past before, but mine was mainly due to, crossing your legs for too long, being in a position for too long, or so forth. But I have seen this in so many individuals who are vegan or even vegetarian or malnourished. Okay, I've seen this in these individuals, and the reason why is the key is the B12. This is why the number one thing that I would do is get my B12 tested, right? And to ensure that I'm getting the right B12 tested, and there's a test that you can ensure they're getting the right B12 tested. But not only that, to ensure that I'm interpreting the B12 results at an optimal level, and to see if I have any other B12 symptoms, deficiency symptoms, right? But the other thing that I would do is I'll keep a diary of when it happened and what I did, what changed. I would review any structural damage that may have occurred during that time. I would check my skin for any bites. Do I have any bites, such as Lyme disease and so forth? I would keep the number. So the number one thing is to review my thyroid and my B12 levels to ensure that they're on point, right? I would increase my B12 food or even supplementation if I'm unable to increase the B12 foods. Get a blood test done to check my blood sugar levels linked to diabetes, right? Thyroid panel linked to all those things that we spoke about, and my B12 tested, right? I would see if I have any infections, right? I would review my toxin exposure, my lead, arsenic, mercury foods. Am I being exposed to it? Even do maybe a hair mineral analysis test to see my exposure to heavy metals. I would avoid repetitive movements if possible. I would ensure that I'm resting, that I'm in a parasympathetic node, and I'm actually taking time out for myself, right? I would be also getting up and moving light movements around to ensure that I'm getting blood around my body, right? I would understand the underlying cause of this. What is the underlying cause? Is that underlying cause an autoimmune disease? Is it diabetes? Is it the fact of just is it nerve damage? What is causing it, right? Because there's a reason for it. Is it a deficiency of foods? Is it a deficiency of nutrients? I would seek assistance from a medical healthcare professional if it stays the same or gets worse, right? Have to review it to make sure that I'm doing the right thing about it. But essentially, it is a bit of a funny feeling, and look, it could be a deficiency of any of the B vitamins, but my number one suggestion is B12, right? It could be your vitamin D, it could be toxins, chemicals, infections, so many things. But like I said, the number one thing that I would do is get my B12 tested, make sure that I'm having enough B12 in my diet, in my supplementations. And then if it gets better, check why I would change all those things. I would ensure that I'm keeping a note of what I'm changing to see what's making it better and keep doing those things, right? But there you have it. I hope I shed some light to your question and anyone listening who may have this issue. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at mihaela.raguz on Instagram, and I'll be in touch with you and hopefully be able to answer your question via the Natural Health Podcast. Remember, you are not alone in the journey to optimal health. I'm here to assist you and make this journey a pleasant one. Until next Wednesday, love you.